get into today is Victor's going to share some of his experiences as an auditor and with an auditing firm around how he has been able to see a bit with his firm of the way that movement to the cloud, and in particular, we'll talk a bit about our OnPoint A&A suite, how that has actually offered some real benefits to him. So before we get into all the details of that, Victor, maybe you can just tell everybody a little bit about your firm.
Yes, I started with my firm in 2013. We are based in Miami, in Florida. And we just started like a boutique firm doing some bookkeeping, taxes, and also IRS representation. But I always feel the need to do more. We have a big niche here in South Florida that is the government, the different government agencies asking for CPA reports consisting in compilations, review, audits. And because I had previous experience working in audit, I started my career working with Pricewaterhouse. But it was the old-fashioned way when everything was done manually, with those big green sheets. And I knew that the technology was already improving in this area, and I hear about the OnPoint PCR products, and I start looking to see if we can offer those CPA services to my customers. And sure, it had been a great experience so far.
Yeah, great. I know you mentioned a little bit about some of the work that you do. I know we've talked. I think homeowners associations is another part of your audit practice, among other things. You have a number of different types of audits that you do. And I know in our conversations about not just your work in OnPoint PCR, but you also were fortunate enough to be involved in being part of the beta for our OnPoint Audit product, which is actually launching really soon here in June, 23rd of June. So because of that, in our conversations, we had talked a bit about what are some of the benefits that you've gotten out of it. And you've mentioned a number of things, but there were kind of three, I don't know, themes or key things that were drawn out from the conversation. And the first of those, I'd like to just hear your thoughts on it, is with OnPoint, there's this idea of smart content. It's this idea of smart content that helps to drive audit quality, but to do so efficiently. Exactly. So I don't know, maybe you can talk about how is that better than what you're used to doing or what you've been doing, and what's the real benefit there?
Yes, on the traditional approach in audit, we have to look for, the practice aids,
right,
to have different documents in Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and it was very challenging for a small firm like mine. Basically, I was working alone at that time. And for me, handling all those platforms with a single client was a little bit time consuming, let's say. When I found OnPoint PCR, I think it solved the issue about efficient content management, because everything was in one place. Basically, I have all the functionality in a single website. I can access my client file, answer all the questions for the engagement, and it was adaptive, depending on how I respond to those questions, the engagement was producing the following steps on the engagement, on the audit work. And that's a very an excellent feature of the product, because I am able to do multiple engagements at the same time and have everything organized in one place. And I can also check my document file, my client's file from different computers. Everything was handy. It's amazing.
And yeah, and I've heard other firms and talking about this too. I've not just with OnPoint PCR, but you and some other firms I've talked to who've been involved with the beta program of OnPoint Audit, talking about kind of it helps reduce some of that feeling of being overwhelmed right at the beginning of the engagement, trying to get your planning and so forth going. And just again, this idea of smart content is that your things are kind of built out in a smart way as you provide entity information. So, and that's great. The other thing, one of the other things you mentioned, so kind of the second benefit that came up is this idea of more timely and transparent communications with clients, and how that's kind of built right into the process of how you work. So what's that meant for you, and how's that different from what you've been doing?
Yes, correct. The platform give me the opportunity or give me the chance to interact with my customer staff, with my client staff, asking for documentation. By the way, it's in an encrypted platform. Everything is secure. I'm able to receive documents, confidential documentation from my clients in a very secure environment. And I'm able to have it in the right place within my engagement file. And that is a big advantage, because usually when we request documentation from my clients, I have to even give them access to my emails, or give them access to a space in my cloud, so they can drop the documents over there. And that's something that for some clients, especially in the industry that I handle, which are non-for-profit organizations and homeowners associations, they are not very accustomed. So it was like a challenge for me always. But with the OnPoint products, I am able to have that transparency, let's say, with my client receiving and providing information through the platform.
Yeah, and I think from what I've heard, again, talking to other people around that, this collaboration with clients can be one of the bigger momentum killers. Trying to get what you need and having to kind of manually manage the communication channel through emails or phone calls, and just bringing it all into a place where everybody can see what's going on at the same time has really helped firms I've talked to as well. So it's great to hear you've realized some of those same kinds of benefits. So then the kind of third thing we talked about is I think it's really one of these pieces that a small firm or a small and mid-sized firm can really relate with. And I'm excited to hear you talk about how this has affected you. It's this idea of the product of kind of just being accessible, this idea that it's accessible, it's easy to get up and running. And that means a lot when you're a smaller firm. You only have so many hours in the day. It's a competitive world out there with audit. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what that has actually done for you as well.
Exactly. Yes, I tried other products in the past. By the way, some of the products in the market are really, really expensive for a firm like mine. So that means that I have to do a big investment at the beginning, and not only in the economical sense, but also were time consuming, because the learning curve was too high at the beginning, having to have multiple training sessions or customer support calls in order for me to complete my first engagement, which didn't happen basically with OnPoint products, because first of all, you provide us with a manual that has everything that we need to start running the product. Also, you have very interesting training sessions that are more like conversational about how the product features, how the product works, and everything is intuitive, I think, and we can learn easily to handle, to manage the platform and the different components. And it has been for me a very good experience on that regard, because Again, I'm a small practitioner and I don't have too much time to invest in a product that can be costly or time consuming. So On Point platform provide me those two advantages. Was easy to learn and was very cost efficient.
Yeah, that's great. I've heard similar conversations or comments from people about the challenges with changing, the challenges with getting up and running on something new. A lot of people have that feeling, I should be doing something a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, modern. Like, I know I could be using technology better, but like you said, they look around and it just feels like it's more than I need, or gosh, it's expensive, whatever the words might be. And so
Yeah.
I think that we're trying to certainly help firms tackle some of those problems, give them something realistic that they can actually get to work for them.
Yeah, and another thing, Matt, is that these products are based in the American market. So all the platforms have been developed based on US GAAP.
Yeah.
That basically other products, other platforms are not designed for that. So the fact that the AICPA, the CPA.com is working with you guys on this project is a very, it says very much about the quality of the product and how reliable it is.
Yeah, well, thank you for your words, Victor. It's good connecting with you again. I know possibly some of the people watching and on this interview might recognize you if they attended our webinar we did in May. We talked, if you're interested in hearing a bit more of a larger story, by the way, if you're when you're listening here on movement to the cloud, Victor and I have a much deeper conversation about this. And it's available on the CPA.com website if you look for our Transformation of Audit webinar series. We actually have another one coming up here where we're going to talk about the connectivity with a different firm who actually, again, echoes some of the things you've mentioned here, Victor. So thank you very much for your time. It's been good reconnecting with you. And thanks, everyone, for listening in today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.